So today I'm going to the grocery store. I'm doing my normal weekly meal planning routine. So I wanted to bring you along with to share some of my tips and insights into how to best meal plan as an at-home vegan. The first thing that I do when I start meal planning for the week is I take stock of what I already have. Are there any vegetables that I need to use up? Are there any ingredients that have been in my pantry for a while that I want to use? Just kind of look at what is already in your kitchen and choose some meals around those things. So let's go have a look at what is currently in my kitchen, and I can show you how I choose recipes based off of that. I sort of impulse bought these butternut squash at a local Turkish market in my neighborhood because they're sort of hard to find at big box stores in Germany. So I definitely need to have a recipe with at least one butternut squash. I think I'll be freezing the other one. Let's see what's in the fridge. Okay, so we definitely have a decent amount of things in the fridge. I bought these eggplants at that same market where I bought the butternut squash because they looked so good. So we need to have a recipe for eggplant. I've got a red pepper that I need to use up. This is getting a little wrinkly, so I should probably use this either today or tomorrow. We have half a bottle of wine that I'm probably not gonna drink at this point since it's been open for a few days. So I would like to have a recipe using up this wine. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who has random leftover ingredients in my pantry. So I like to try and use those up. If they've been sitting there for a while, I try and get creative or specifically look up a recipe to use them so that I don't just have them in my pantry forever. Here's something that I've been meaning to use. Impulsively kind of bought it at this Asian grocery store that's in my neighborhood. And I've never used jackfruit before. I keep meaning to, and I put it on my list and then I don't actually do it. So let's make this the week that I make something with jackfruit. I think that's a pretty good start in terms of kind of taking stock of what I have in my kitchen, because I know for sure that I've got a few recipes, right? I need to make something with butternut squash, something with eggplant, something with jackfruit. That's 3 right there. So I think we can get creative in using those ingredients, and let's move on to the next step of the process. So the next thing that I do is I choose my recipes for the week. I know this can be kind of intimidating, especially if you are just getting started. Like, where do I look for recipes? What do I do? I'll link to a few of my favorite vegan food blogs in the description below, so please check them out if you're just getting started. Another tip that works really well for me when choosing recipes is to not do more than 1 or 2 new recipes in a week. New recipes can sometimes feel like more work than recipes that you've already made before. By doing 1 to 2 new recipes per week, you don't exhaust yourself with cooking, but you're also adding new flavors, new recipes to your skill set. To keep track of the recipes that I choose for a week, I've got a menu. This is just like a magnetic whiteboard that I keep on my fridge. It's like a kid who's proud of their A+ grades. My menu for the week. I keep track of my favorite recipes on a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. I keep it on my Google Drive, and I have a shortcut on my phone to make it really easy to access my favorite recipes. Now this spreadsheet has like over 50 recipes that I know that I love and can just go back to again and again and again. When you have that many recipes in your repertoire, meal planning becomes so much easier because you know what you need to do to make these, and you have enough variety that you don't get sick of eating the same thing every day. Okay, so here we are looking at my spreadsheet of favorite recipes. You can see all of them here, and they're just links to a bunch of different food blogs. So this week I needed to use butternut squash, and I have a lot of butternut squash recipes already in my kind of repertoire because it's one of my favorite ingredients to use. It's so delicious. So let's see what we got here. Butternut squash and black bean enchiladas. I also have a vegan butternut squash risotto that is super good, and if you haven't watched the video yet, I'll link to it in the description below. I do a whole tutorial of this recipe because it is so delicious. I promise, it's so good. Plus, that actually might be a really good recipe to choose for this week because I could use the wine for the risotto and the butternut squash. Okay, so maybe that's one of them. Always eat eat your leftovers. Learning how to eat your leftovers is such an important skill when it comes to food waste, but also it's an amazing budget technique. You can keep your food costs so much lower if you're cutting out the cost of buying lunch every day or cooking a separate lunch. I don't typically account for cooking lunches as part of my meal planning because I know that I'm primarily going to be eating leftovers and random things in my fridge. Most recipes out there have portions for 2 to 4 people. That's sort of the standard size that you see for recipes. Now, I know when you're living by yourself or you maybe have a roommate who you don't eat meals with a lot, this is challenging because you're like, well, every recipe is like way more than I need. How do I cook for myself? It's so much easier to cook one time and then eat that meal multiple times rather than like cooking half of it or having the recipe and then cooking it again. Just make the whole thing as the recipe suggests, and if it's too much, you'll eat it for lunch the next day. When you're meal planning for a whole week, sometimes you might get a little more ambitious, and once the week actually starts happening, you might feel yourself kind of running out of energy for cooking. That happens to the best of us. Even me, my hobby is cooking and eating and food, and even I get sick of cooking at home sometimes. One way that you can account for this in your meal planning is to leave yourself a flex day. A flex day or a flexible day is a day when you can just kind of do what your energy levels allow you to do that day. If I'm feeling lazy and I need a flex day, I typically make, vegan smoothies, or I'll throw together some quick pasta dish. My favorite one is like just a buttered noodle with some sage in the butter, and it's so delicious and simple, and I can just throw it together in a few minutes. Whatever it is for you, give yourself that space in your schedule to allow for some flexibility. Once you've chosen all your recipes for the week, I recommend putting them in order of kind of most fresh ingredients to least fresh ingredients. What I mean by that is which of the recipes that you're cooking require the most fruits and vegetables, and which of those fruits and vegetables are most likely to go bad quickly. So for example, fresh herbs, green ingredients like lettuce or arugula, those are a little bit harder to keep fresh. So you most likely want to use those types of ingredients at the beginning of your week, shortly after you've come back from the grocery store, versus root vegetables like potatoes, squash, apples. Those last a longer period of time, and you can wait until later in the week to eat them because it's not going to impact their freshness. You might also have a recipe that's using a lot of canned ingredients or dried ingredients. Those can stay for a much longer time, so add those later in the week. So in this case, I am starting my week of meal planning on Friday. I think I'm gonna make the chili today first because I've been kind of putting off making it, and I need to use up that red pepper. So we're gonna have chili today. Once you've got all your recipes picked out, start adding them to a list. A shopping list is going to keep you organized when you're at the store. I know this seems so obvious, but really it's important. I personally use Keep. It's a Google app for all of my list making. I like it because you can share it with other people. So if my husband is doing the shopping, I send it to him. I sort my list by the store. So every week we go to VYEN, which is kind of like our big box grocery store here in Germany, and then Allnatura is a more like health food store. So that's where I typically buy kind of more of my vegetable ingredients, versus VYEN I buy more of my dry ingredients. I'm gonna have a quick lunch before I go to the grocery store because never shop when you're hungry. Never shop when you're hungry. You'll always buy things that you don't want, that you don't need, that you don't even care about because you're just thinking about food and your body is hungry. Eat before you go to the store, even if it's a small snack. It'll make your shopping way more budget friendly, and you won't have a lot of food waste because you won't be buying things that you don't need. When I go to the grocery store, I bring all my own bags, of course, and I also have little vegetable bags here that I put loose items in, like mushrooms. They're perfect. We are lucky enough to live close enough to the grocery store that I can just walk with my bags. All right. Most important part of going to the store these days, got my mask. Germany has a new law where we all have to wear these really official masks, so that's what we're doing. No coronavirus for me. Off to the store. I just got back from the grocery stores, I should say, and there's all my stuff, all my groceries for this week, and my one weekly outing. It's done. Now I stay in my house for a week. Coronazite. Storing your food properly will help you avoid any food waste and make sure that they stay fresh longer. So keep any kind of root vegetable types ingredients, garlic, onion, sweet potatoes. Those can go in a nice cool dark place on a counter or shelf. Other vegetable ingredients can go in the fridge, things like cauliflower, green beans, peppers, stuff like that. All of that should go in a crisper drawer in the fridge. Green onions will keep in here for 2 weeks and they'll even grow more. So you can get more out of your purchase, just like this. Fruit should also be kept out, perhaps in a bowl. Bananas will ripen everything, so just be aware. For greens, keep them in a glass of water in the fridge and they will last for almost a week. Why is cilantro so good? Whew. All right, I am all done with my vegan meal planning for the week. In total, the planning portion probably took me about an hour's worth of work, and then going to the grocery store maybe like another hour to an hour and a half. So in total, that's like 2 hours worth of work for an entire week's worth of healthy vegan eating. In general, I find that meal planning just really cuts down the stress of cooking during the week and makes it a lot easier to really like stick to your convictions when it comes to eating as a vegan at home. If you are also doing meal planning and have other great tips or ideas, please comment below. I would love to hear any other ideas that people have on making vegan meal planning a little bit easier and a little bit more fun. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That would be awesome. Subscribe to my channel. I am trying to grow here on YouTube and connect with a community of fellow at-home vegans and people looking to live a stylish and sustainable life. So join me in this process. Thank you so much. Bye. Ah, the sun's coming out. Yay! Ah, it's so nice. We never get the sun in Germany. Oh my gosh, Germans do this really funny thing when the sun comes out. They like stand outside and just face the sun and close their eyes. You see people do it on the street all the time. It's super cute. And well, now that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, anyway, back to meal planning.